What if your home only lasted for 7 hours? Exactly 7 hours. No more, no less. In Tokyo, thousands of youth live just like this. They pay between 3,000 and 5,000 yen a night just to sleep in tiny capsule hotels or manga cafe cubicles. No contract, no address, and ironically, without proper sleep. And the craziest part? Officially, Japan claims it has almost no homeless people. Right, but they just forgot to count those who sleep inside boxes, didn't they? But hold on, this is merely the beginning. Stay with me, and you'll soon discover how one of the world's richest, cleanest, and most organized cities turned into a place where nobody has anywhere to lay their head. Today, you'll see the Japan that anime doesn't show you. The Japan where the future looks bright, but real life fits inside a box. The city that hides lives. By day, Tokyo looks like a painting. Neon lights, subways on time, no one jaywalks, no one speaks loudly. It's a paradise of efficiency, or at least it seems to be. But when night falls, this city's face changes. The shop windows continue to glow, the billboards are still flashing, but take a closer look now. Over in the corner of the cafe, there's a young boy dozing off with his head resting on the keyboard. Over there, a girl with a backpack and a toothbrush in her bag, trying to look like a customer. These are the Toyoko kids, the invisible children of the perfect city. They wander through Kabukicho, the neighborhood that never sleeps, not because they're having fun, but because they have nowhere to sleep. It's an entire generation trying to survive among the illuminated alleys. During the day, they work at convenience stores, restaurants, and call centers. At night, they rent their own rest on an hourly basis. And what's even more bizarre, this isn't a new phenomenon at all. It's a system the city itself has simply learned to tolerate. While we perceive Japan as the land of robots and cutting-edge technology, they are actually fostering an army of expendable young people who exist much like a mere software update. They work at night, recharge by day, then vanish. Japan refers to this as its lost youth, but seen from the outside, it appears more like a youth that has been completely disregarded. The contrast is rather poetic. Tokyo has one of the highest per capita incomes in the world, but also one of the highest rates of young people experiencing homelessness. They sleep in capsule hotels, tiny 2-by-1 meter spaces, only to wake up surrounded by multi-million-dollar skyscrapers. It's like being trapped in a video game where you never advance to the next level. Every day starts from scratch, and the Save Progress button? Japan never installed that. The cruel math of rent. You know that saying about everyone in Japan living comfortably? Well, it truly depends on your income and how many square feet your bank account can realistically afford. A simple one-room apartment, commonly known as a 1R, typically costs between 70,000 and 80,000 yen per month. When converted, that's approximately $500. Now do the math. The minimum wage in Tokyo is 1,113 yen per hour. Thus, if an individual works 8 hours daily, 22 days a month, they would earn approximately 195,000 yen. After he pays rent, what scraps are left over for him? Just enough to eat instant noodles and charge his cell phone? And of course, it's not just the amount of rent that's an issue. There's a deposit, agency fees, a guarantor, and a bureaucracy straight from a Kafka nightmare. You need to prove you have an address in order to get an address. It's almost an existential enigma with a seal of approval. And that's where Plan B enters the picture. Capsule hotels and manga cafes serve as a sort of Airbnb for individuals seeking merely air conditioning and a spot to rest. Seems convenient, doesn't it? But the cruel detail is that by the end of the month, these places cost more than fixed rent. But there's no contract, no guarantor, and no shame in being invisible. It's the classic cycle of poverty, Japanese style. You work all day just to afford tomorrow's sleep. It's like the endless loop of modern life. Earn, pay, wake up, and repeat. And the worst thing is that for many people, this has become the new normal. Japan has learned to turn mere survival into an everyday routine. People don't live, they just keep themselves running. Like a phone that never fully charges to 100%, but also never completely shuts down. But wait, to make matters worse, the problem isn't just money. It's how the city treats those experiencing homelessness. The 7-hour house. Can you imagine calling a place home when you can't even truly stretch out your legs? Welcome to the Japanese version of Home Sweet Home, a 2x1 meter capsule with just enough room for you, a pillow, and your dignity, all squeezed into one tiny corner. Check-in begins at 10 o'clock at night. And at 7 a.m., right on time, the alarm blares, the lights switch on, and an employee promptly kicks you out as if you were the final contestant of an insomnia reality show. There are no extra 5 minutes, no breakfast in bed, and certainly no working from home today. The most you can manage is to work just enough to afford your next short sleep. These locations are strictly designed for immediate survival. You go in, you pay, you sleep if you can, and you leave without a trace. No contract, no guarantor, no conversation. After all, the less the city knows about you, the better for it. In manga cafes, it's even more peculiar. They provide cubicles equipped with a computer, a reclining chair, and a curtain, as though Japan pioneered the concept of remote work for the downtrodden. You'll see people sleeping with their headphones dangling, and others using the monitor's glow as a makeshift lamp. And the constant sound of keystrokes becomes the official soundtrack of collective insomnia. Everything is timed. A 7-hour stay. 7 hours to remind you that while Japan can build robots, it still hasn't created true rest for the genuinely exhausted. And what's even crazier, most of these individuals are employed. They aren't beggars or idle. These are young people who keep the city running, yet they sleep as if they're just disposable cogs in a relentless non-stop system. It's the type of irony only Japan can deliver, a nation where even sleep is now a premium product. Yet some individuals still consider themselves fortunate. They manage to escape the capsules to live in micro-apartments. In other words, they got out of the drawer to live inside a shoebox apartment with Wi-Fi. Micro-apartments. You know when the rent is so expensive you start thinking about living inside your wardrobe? Well, in Japan, that's become a business. They call them micro-apartments. In reality, though, they're just shoebox apartments with Wi-Fi. The advertisement claims compact studio, smart home, urban minimalism. But the right name would be a drawer with a toilet. These cubicles are, on average, 9 to 12 square meters. To give you an idea, that's smaller than a parking space in Brazil, yet they still cost around 80 to 100,000 yen per month, which amounts to about 550 to 700 US dollars. So, you end up paying a hefty price to reside in a place where, if you sneeze, you'll hit the kitchen. And the weirdest part is that they market this as a lifestyle. Live efficiently in the city center, is what they often say. Efficiently? Man, it's so efficient you can fry an egg, take a shower, take a crap, and brush your teeth without moving from the same spot. Companies like Spilita specialize in this, creating the famous kukuri. The name might sound nice, but truly kukuri should signify shelters a human for a brief period before they lose their mind. And the marketing strategy is ingenious. They show a smiling young person sitting on the floor, drinking coffee with their leg propped against the fridge. The caption, "Urban freedom." But where is this freedom, my friend? You can barely even spread both your arms out at the same time. According to Japan Property Central's data, in the 1980s, the average living space in Tokyo was 65 square meters, but today it's roughly 40. In other words, Japan not only grew older, it also shrank along with its apartments. And the most ironic part, these micro-apartments are still considered a luxury. Yes, a luxury. For those unable to afford them, capsule hotels or manga cafes are all that's left. It's the last step before homelessness. It's the illusion of, I'm fine, I have my own corner. But that corner is literally just a corner. Tokyo is still beautiful, organized, and futuristic, but internally, it's a nation that sells cramped living with design and solitude with aesthetics. Future Japan has become a compressed Japan. Pretty outside, suffocating inside. The invisible people of Kabukicho. Now comes the most bizarre part of all this. The Japanese government asserts there are almost no homeless individuals in the country. Fewer than 4,000, they claim. Sounds appealing, doesn't it? Almost like a campaign slogan. We've eradicated poverty. They just forgot to count those sleeping in capsule hotels, manga cafes, and 7-hour hotels. In other words, the majority. It is the perfect trick to clear society's collective conscience. It's not that people have a place to live, it's that the system has decided not to see them. If someone is sleeping inside a box and paying for it, then voila, problem solved. Poverty? Never heard of it. And to make sure the city keeps that futuristic, picture-perfect shine, the authorities went even further. They closed off squares at night, fenced parks, and even added bars to benches to prevent anyone from lying down. It's like saying, you can be poor, just be discreet about it. However, the true stage for this deception is Kabukicho, the district that never sleeps, and where Tokyo conceals anything that doesn't fit its postcard image. That's where the Toyoko kids live, homeless teens and young adults wandering the illuminated streets like characters deleted from the system. And what does the government do? It sends the police. Every single week they conduct cleanup operations. Yes, cleanup, as if they were just objects out of place. More than 100 officers scour the alleys, approaching young men and women who truly have nowhere to go. Officially, it's for their protection. In reality, it's to sanitize the scene. Meanwhile, high above, the Godzilla building shines imposingly like a visual reminder of what Japan has become. A dazzling spectacle of lights obscures an entire country that remains at a loss regarding what to do with its own darkness. These young people don't just disappear, they are methodically erased. No address, no rights, no face. And when the city wakes up, they're gone, as if they never existed. Tokyo is perfect, organized, safe, clean, but at a cost. A cost measured in silence, in downcast eyes, and in capsules that become coffins for dignity. Japan hasn't solved the problem of poverty. It has merely mastered the art of efficiently organizing chaos, transforming suffering into a mere backdrop, and making the unseen a part of daily life. Hey, do me a favor. Share this video with that otaku friend of yours who has a questionable taste for women with childish voices. Perhaps he will realize that the Japan of his dreams involves sleeping in capsule hotels and surviving on instant noodles. Real stories. Amidst so many cold numbers, there are real people, faces, voices, entire lives fitting inside a backpack. The first one is about her. In her early 20s, works at a convenience store, one of those 24-hour shops that never sleeps, just like her. She clocks out, clutching a plastic bag containing the remnants of her existence, a change of clothes, a toothbrush, and a phone barely clinging to life. There's no closet, for there's no room. Her wardrobe is her backpack. She sleeps wherever possible, one night in a capsule, another in a manga cafe cubicle, 7 hours here, 7 hours there, all strictly timed, as though even her rest were subject to a time clock. She works full-time, but there's nothing left over because to rent an apartment in Tokyo, you need to pay a deposit, fees, and have a guarantor. In other words, you need to prove you already have money before you can even live there. She's caught in this endless loop. Works to pay for sleep, sleeps to be able to work. It's capitalism with a Japanese instruction manual. The second story is about him, a teenager who fought with his family and ran away. Today, he lives in Kabukicho, the district of lights, signs, and alleys that reek of nighttime energy and loneliness. He makes a living handing out promotional flyers on the street corners. Each night, he makes about 3,000 yen and spends that same 3,000 yen to sleep in a manga cafe. He works today just to earn the right to sleep tomorrow. It's the kind of logic only Japan could perfect and make it seem flawless. It's a system so efficient that even misery operates in the black. These stories were vividly captured through the lens of photographer Yusuke Nagata. He spent years documenting the so-called Toyoko kids, this generation living on the edge between neon lights and oblivion. In the photos, the city shines, but their eyes are dull. Heavy backpacks, bodies bent, and dreams all crumpled in a corner. Japanese youth have become a subculture of silent resistance, people who exist, yet barely truly live. Independent magazines like Yokogawa magazine try to give them a voice. But in a country obsessed with appearances, being invisible is safer than being noticed. And the craziest part? They don't ask for help. They ask not to be seen. As in Japan, showing fragility is worse than starving. These stories aren't in movies or Netflix documentaries. They are happening right now, under the lights of Tokyo, while the rest of the world applauds the efficiency of a country that has learned to hide suffering inside boxes. And the cost isn't just financial. It's physical, mental, and spiritual. It's fatigue, anxiety, and shame. The body wears out, but it's truly the mind that breaks. Most of these young people live in a constant state of alert. They sleep poorly, get kicked out of cafes at 7 a.m., carry their entire lives on their backs, and start each day from scratch. It's an endless loop that offers no respite. They work to sleep and sleep to work. And when rest is temporary, exhaustion becomes permanent. Japan is widely recognized for its discipline, yet it simultaneously holds one of the highest rates of mental and physical exhaustion worldwide. According to Japan's Ministry of Health, nearly 60% of its workforce reports symptoms of chronic fatigue, and over 10,000 cases annually are officially recognized as karoshi, which is death from working too much. But the majority don't even make it into the statistics because this new collapse doesn't kill suddenly. It gradually extinguishes you. The pressure to maintain a perfect appearance is so immense that many prefer to suffer in solitude rather than seek assistance. Shame has become an institution. Showing weakness is more painful than feeling pain. Therefore, thousands of young individuals steer clear of NGOs and shelters, not due to pride, but from the fear of being judged. Even when they do seek help, resources are limited. Organizations such as Tenohasi, the Big Issue Japan, and Sanyukai provide meals, medical attention, and temporary shelter. Yet the volunteer count remains low while the demand is immense. The majority find themselves returning to the streets or to capsule hotels even before regaining their composure. And that's when the cruelest blow of all comes. When the world measures you by an address, living 7 hours at a time reduces you to a nobody. These people haven't disappeared. They have simply become sufficiently invisible so as not to interfere with the operation of the city. Yet, the lingering question is, how could such a wealthy and organized nation have arrived at this point? How was this crisis born right in the heart of the world's most efficient economy? The root of the housing problem, you know what's most contradictory in Japan? It's not the lack of housing, it's the price of having one. Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities on the planet. According to Reuters, the average apartment price has surged by nearly 40% over the past decade. What's even more astonishing is that even properties considered stigmatized, meaning those where someone has passed away, have now become highly sought after. Yes, the crisis reached a point where Japanese people accept living with a ghost if it fits their budget. At the same time, large real estate conglomerates are still constructing luxury developments that resemble futuristic spaceships. Tokyo is repositioning itself for the global elite, with glass towers, 5-star hotels, and smart condominiums, where the only detail that seems out of place is the human being. Outside of these flawless ideal models, thousands of young people remain trapped in the very same nightmare. Unaffordable rent, overwhelming bureaucracy, and stagnant wages. The rental system is truly a labyrinth. To rent an apartment, you need a guarantor, a security deposit that is equal to 2 or 3 months' worth of rent, and an impeccable credit history. Oh, and ironically, you must also have a permanent address. In other words, to have a home, you need to prove you already have one. And while other countries already have alternatives like housing vouchers, temporary shelters, or social co-living programs, in Tokyo, the fastest-growing market is for sleep by the hour. Yes, literally. Capsule hotels, manga cafes, 24-hour hotels. Japan made rest a product. Cruel logic, but it works. Those who can, pay. Those who can, sleep. And if you can't, well, that's your problem, not the city's. And when someone asks the government what's happening, the answer is almost a punchline. There are almost no homeless people in Japan. Of course not. Here, even those living on the edge pay to exist. Poverty is invisible, and the system learned to sweep the problem under the rug, or rather, encapsule hotels with Wi-Fi. Japan sees itself as a global example. Statistically, there are fewer than 4,000 homeless individuals. How lovely, right? On paper, it's an absolute paradise. In reality, it's merely makeup on an ugly woman. These numbers ignore those sleeping in capsule hotels, manga cafes, or 7-hour hotels. Because here, if you're paying to suffer, you're not poor, you're a customer. And just like that, problem solved. Misery has turned into a monthly plan. But what do you make of all this? If you've made it this far, comment, "Poor Japan," just so I know who survived until the end and is one of the channel's faithful. Oh, and don't leave yet. Check out the video that's appearing on the screen because that's where you'll understand the other side of Japan that nobody shows. Thanks, and see you later.